Fucking worse.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in once again to the Unofficial Therapy Podcast. This is Chris Kane. I got my girl Jenn Padilla with me. What's up, Jenn?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm hanging out. I don't know where I am. This is where Google Images took me. It's beautiful. I like that sunset. You look like you're home right now.
Yeah, I'm in my room.
Okay, living it up.
The gray wall.
So,
nothing fantastic.
no, it's fine. Like we can't all, afford to travel and do pods at the same time. This is reserved for the few. I'm just being dumb. All right. So Jenn, I'm not native to LA, but you are. So give me a little background about what it's like growing up in LA, because I'm from the East Coast. I used to see it on TV. All I saw was Straight Outta Compton and Beverly Hills 90210. That, and then the OC when I was like in high school. So that's what I know. The OC was the truth. Listen, don't see.
Dude, I love that show too. Adam Brody was the love of my life.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I may have started wearing tank tops trying to be like Ryan for a little bit. Like listen, okay, it was 2003. It's a long time ago.
We all had our phases.
We had our phases. So I enjoyed the OC low key, just putting it out to the people. So growing up here, how was it growing up here compared to what the TV kind of blew it up to be? Because I know it's not the same.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same. Well, I grew up in the Valley, San Fernando Valley. So it's not Beverly Hills. It's not Compton. It's not Hollywood, like all the things that you probably would normally see depicted in films.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like as an Angelino compared to like a transplant coming in, no offense.
No one taken. I like being in Florida.
I think we get this bad rep that like you're so LA, but really like the transplants that try to like be LA are the so LA people. Does that make sense?
What is being LA? Is that like, oh my God, like what? Is it like that thing?
And just like always trying to keep up with like going to like the cool spots, like, like Catch LA or whatever, like pose in front of Astros. So it's like, growing up here, you're just kind of like, those are all like touristy places. You kind of get familiar with your local mom and pop shops or just kind of like hole in the wall places that are like low key, nobody really knows. So when you bring your friends over and they're coming to visit, you take them to some really cool spots, like legit, it could be any type of cuisine instead of like the standard like Catch LA or Delilah or whatever it is. They're just kind of like, there's a different appreciation because I feel like, you see all those things on Instagram and I think it's so surface. I feel like LA has so much more than just those hype places is basically what I'm saying.
I like how you mentioned all those restaurants. I've been to none of them. I don't know where any of them are. I can't be like, oh yeah, man, Catch LA is the truth. When you said it, I was like, West Hollywood? Santa Monica?
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
I have no idea where it is. I never been.
Those are the hot spots. Like all the celebs go there, players go there, like all those people go there. But like people chase that and then they're so unhappy because they're chasing something that's, to be honest, really far out of reach unless you know somebody or you're a celebrity. So, I feel like a lot of people get miserable because they get mixed in the wrong crowd when they first move here. And then they finally find their groove or they don't. And they have this like perception of LA, good or bad. And I kind of feel like that's with anything if you move to any city. But there's a lot of great things about LA. And I feel like a lot of people miss out on a lot because they're just focused on the cool spots.
I get that. I remember when I moved here, someone told me, if you can make it 2 years here, then you'll stay. But if you don't make it, but if you move before 2 years, you probably won't ever come back.
Because it's a grind, man. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Rent's expensive.
Listen, at the 18-month mark, I was making calls back to Miami like, y'all still got that job I left? y'all still hiring? It's like, what? I'm just saying, I need to know what my options are because that exit ramp was looking real tempting. I can't lie.
I think about moving, honestly. Like I would love to settle here and have my family here because my family is here.
Sure.
I want my kids to be a part of the sports teams that I was a part of. We rooted for Lakers, now Rams and stuff like that. Those are our household sports teams. But as time goes on, I don't know if this is the place that I want to raise children,
It's an interesting point. I've never even thought about it in LA. Like I moved here, like the people you mentioned in your opening diatribe, despite the Catch LA and all that kind of stuff, the Maestros, I did move here to do, I'm sorry, what is Listen, they're not sponsoring this
It's
pod.
irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
They don't get the right pronunciation. They're not sponsoring me. They haven't even sent me an email like, hey, come here and get 5% off. Whatever. I moved here, like most people do, to pursue all this, to be connected, to be whatever. And that pursuit was singular. I didn't think about necessarily having kids in this area or buying a home, because I imagine to buy a home, you have to 20% of, a nice little $2 million property is like, it was a lot of money. And so I've not even thought that deep into it. As I get older and I start meeting more and more qualified women, I'm using that term loosely. Qualified meaning they're looking and they're of the right age, not like looks wise.
They're in the running. You've got your own little bachelor show going on for you.
Listen, man.
Good for you, man.
That's neither here nor there. We'll get into that later. But as I meet more of them, then I start asking a question, because all of my family's on the East Coast. I don't have any family in California. So I think part of me wants to be near them. Siblings, nieces and nephews, both my parents.
Yeah.
And I have one grandparent who's still over there. And so it's like, I think I need to get to a certain level here before I can actually fully transition back there. I may end up being bi-coastal for real, but.
Yeah, I've thought of that too, where I would be in 2 cities. It's like split time.
Yeah. That seems to be, but your family's here. So my family's over there. So you'll be splitting cities just to get away. I'll be splitting cities to get like to them, I guess. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's this other way around.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but it's hard in LA, as you know, because trying to date the right people in LA is difficult. I'm a transplant. So like I come here with my own Southern sensibilities and I'm gonna tell the truth, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Do you make money? Nah. You know anybody? Nope. Like, where do you live? Well, let's not talk about it. Apparently the truth doesn't get you through. Like they need somebody to fake it and floss on it. It's not really my game.
That's the thing. It's like everyone's looking for a transaction, But here, I just want to clarify, like, if someone's listening to this and they're just kind of offended because they're in that scene, there's nothing wrong with being in that scene. It's not my scene personally, but I've seen a lot of people get hurt trying to keep up with, you're keeping up with the Joneses basically, and you lose a lot of your life because you're trying to be somebody that you're not. So as long as you're true to you and there's no self-betrayal, like, hey, go live your life. Like, that's your business. But I'm just saying my observation of a lot of people that I've met throughout like my career in dance that have come to LA, like those are their experiences. Just saying, there's nothing wrong with it.
You're doing the cautionary tale thing. Like, you've been here, you've seen it happen, you've seen people fall victim to it. So I don't think you have to like apologize to anybody. Because
everyone's trying to cancel everybody, so I'm just trying to like.
Not on this pod.
It's okay.
This pod is cancel free. I don't know. I don't think you can be canceled. I never seen anybody be canceled for trying to do right by people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people get canceled when they're being maybe covertly or overtly divisive, or if they're saying something they know is going to rub an audience the wrong way.
Yeah,
and that audience,
yeah.
Right, and that audience has a certain amount of power, and they just say, "We're not gonna let this go." I don't see people being canceled for trying to do the right thing. Like if you were like, let's say you were like on a female empowerment kind of like movement, you're like, ladies, I understand we're all about pushing forward. Maybe I don't endorse the WAP song or something like that because I don't want my daughter and my nieces, whatever, to feel that's what they have to do. Right? Like, so like you'll catch some Twitter bars, but you won't be canceled for that. It will just be people being like, music has been like this for 40 years. Get over it. Like people will come at you on that tip. They'll just play old music that is similar and just say that, but it wouldn't be, let's get her out of here.
Right.
Cause it's like your intent is good. People get canceled when they're trying to generally come at you like, try to sneak that joke in. So you're not getting canceled on the spot.
Great.
Now, if I say this, if you're canceled 2 weeks from now, you never heard it. You never heard any of this on this pod. I did not endorse, no condone what Chris said on Chris's pod. All
wow. Right. Okay.
I'm trying to get canceled. We've been on for like 102 episodes now. We're moving.
Great.
So, like I said, dating is difficult as a transplant coming here and not knowing the lay of the land. As a woman from here, attractive, boss lady, educated, what has it been like for you? Yeah, I put a lot on you. That's a dope dating profile. Who are you? Boss, talented, attractive, get at me. Like, okay, fine. Given all the things I just mentioned, how has it been for you dating in the city? And you don't have to, obviously, you don't have to say names, although names make the pod better, but you don't have to say any names.
I'm not going to say names,
All right,
just
fair
to
enough.
hold the integrity of the relationship.
Live your life. No one's going to make you do anything.
I'm going to be honest. Dating, well, I never was an avid dater. Like, I wasn't someone that I like sought it out. Like, I wasn't really into it until I hit my 20s because I was just so singularly focused on dance. And so that took up a lot of my time. And in the household that I grew up, my mom was very strict. I couldn't really breathe around a guy.
Did you breathe on me?
Why are you breathing next to him? No.
Get in that room. That's why
my mom was really protective when we were growing up. And and I was a tomboy, essentially. Like, I was really athletic, so I played with the boys, we played sports. And so that was it for me with boys. I mean, I had my crushes, like NSYNC, whatever, Adam Brody from the OC, like those are my celebrity crushes. And, I had those. Bye.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so dating for me was really foreign. And so I dated some interesting people in the beginning when I first started that dating journey.
You can say bum dudes on this pod. We fully endorse it. It's okay.
My man.
You could just keep it a buck.
And I don't want someone talking about me like that, so I'm not going to talk about them like that.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to stir the pot a little bit. I'm sorry. You're right. My bad.
No, you're good. I'll give you the juice. Don't worry. In high school, I had my first boyfriend when I was 16. So we were, in high school, like, you're all local. So, they're not transplants. So you kind of have this level playing field of understanding, like, where you come from in your community and stuff like that. My first boyfriend was great. He was really sweet. I was 16. Who the hell knows what to do in a relationship when you're 16 and weird and awkward and trying to figure yourself out. Really sweet guy. Didn't work out. My senior year, broke up with him because I wanted to go through a curious phase, if you know what I'm saying.
Hold on. Let me. I didn't have my sound effects ready, but if I know we were doing this, I would have. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds to go ahead and get
sound effects. Oh my god. Are we in Vegas? Oh my god.
We're in Miami, and I just had to get that off because apparently you wanted it.
Anyways, so I was curious, when you're deprived as a child, when a mom says no, you're going to do it anyways. So I was curious, and I allowed myself to be curious, and I met a guy that went to the all-boys school. Like, he was the one at the all-boys school, and he was crazy. He turned out to be nuts. We dated for like 8 months, and towards the end of my senior year, and he just is crazy. And that's when I experienced physical assault. So yeah, I was 18, and it was bizarre. I had no idea. I was so naive to a lot of things. I was really sheltered. I didn't know what drugs did to people firsthand. I mean, the only thing you saw in those commercials was like the girl like melted in the couch and was like, "This is what drugs do to you."
I want my friend back.
Yeah, or like the lady with the hole in her throat, like, "Don't smoke cigarettes."
That commercial was traumatizing.
Yeah, it was so.
That commercial ruined everybody. It's like, sometimes I used to be beautiful, and I was like, "Hey, man, I got it. Yeah,
that's enough.
Shut it down. Stop talking."
It's like that commercial with that woman with the dogs that are like, and it's like, in the arms.
Are you talking about Sarah McLachlan? Yeah. Tears of an Angel. Ooh, It's like, hey man.
Late at night after your show, and it's like these poor dogs just like,
Listen,
and then it's like, in the arms of, and I'm just like, turn this shit off. I can't look at this. This is terrible.
2 a.m, Arms of an Angel. You'll be crying before you go to bed. Just like, I was watching MASH reruns. Why would you put this on right now?
You're watching Cops as a kid, and then this comes up.
It's like, you start adopting dogs. Like, how many? I'll take all of them. I'm 16. I'll take all of them. It's like, yeah,
anyway, how did we get here?
That's just how we go. Brains are tangential. You were talking about you didn't know what drugs did to people, and then the girls slept on the couch.
So I'm pretty sure he was doing drugs because he just changed completely. Like, he was an all-star athlete. Like, he was, you know, in the middle of a season, so he was big. And he just got really skinny, and his behavior was erratic. And I didn't know the signs. And then all of a sudden, like, we were at my parents' house, nobody was home, and we were about to leave, and then he just attacked me. Thought I was gonna die. That sounds really dramatic, but it was. I felt, yeah, it was, you know, looking back on it, it was crazy. And the way I processed that, I just kind of shoved it down. I suppressed it, and I just went on with my life. And I was okay. I'm not exactly religious, but I went to Catholic school my whole life.
No.
So in those moments, I like prayed in my head. I said, oh God, like, please help me. And somehow I had like this massive strength to break loose because he had me in like a chokehold here. And this guy's bigger than me, right? So I'm like losing air, and I'm like, great, I'm about to die in my own bathroom. Like, that's great. Yeah, so that went on, and that was like my first really traumatic experience, I guess, that I can remember at that time. And I just went on with my life. I had to cheer at a game the next day. And I just did it. Covered up like a little bit of scuff marks I had, and just went on with my day and didn't even acknowledge it. Tried because my mom was like advocating for that. She was so mortified. I mean, any parent would. So that happened, you know, to their little girl. So I tried it once, and I didn't go back. I just wasn't, you know, you're 18, you're in this I don't care attitude, like, I'm resilient, like, I'm untouchable, and you have this way with you that, like, processing something so heavy like that in depth psychologically, I just wasn't there. Like, I wasn't ready to accept those things. So
listen.
So that was, yeah. What was that?
No, I was gonna say that I think the way you attempted to process it is how most people do. Right? Yeah. Like, if you talk to any therapist, they usually ask you childhood, and they start working their way back up. And most of the times there's something along the way that we just like, nah, we just pushed it down.
Yeah.
You start building your foundation without fixing that part of it. And so everything on top of it is a little bit shaky. Mm-hmm. And so at some point you have to go all the way back, fix what that is.
It's a lot. It's a lot to just peel back on. And you know, at 18, like, there's no way in hell I was ready to, you know, face that and come to terms with it. Cause, you know, you're 18 and you think you're unstoppable, you know, cause you're 18.
Indestructible.
Exactly. And so after that, to finish up my dating saga, I dated, I feel like I really just dated in the middle of my 20s, like the end of my 20s, actually, this current relationship I'm in. So after that guy, I moved to Boston, and I met somebody actually that lived here, and we did a long distance relationship, and then I moved back home, and then we were together. He was interesting. There was a lot of self-betrayal on my end. And he was just really a loser. Sorry.
Listen, I asked for the sauce earlier. You're like, it's coming. The people were like, I need some sauce for this hot dog. You're like, I got you. Don't worry about it. Like,
sauce for this hot dog. Yeah, that's a sauce. He was kind of a loser and just made excuses for everything. I'm pretty sure he was unfaithful and would deny it every time. Like, he wasn't ballsy enough to just admit it.
Right.
Every time I would confront him, he was a baby. He was a man-child, basically. And that was quite the experience.
How long did you guys date?
Pretty sure I was his sugar mama. We were together for like 3 years. No, sorry, 2.5.
So at what point during this 2.5 year relationship did you realize that he was a loser and that you might be his sugar mama?
Oh, I hated him for like a whole year. That seems to be the theme of like how I do relationships, because it's going to happen again. So I just didn't like him for a year, but I just, you get stuck in relationships and you're afraid of change, and you hang on to this is supposed to be what this is supposed to be, and you can't let it go. And, like, I had my needs and they were being met. You know what I'm saying?
You were very not obvious there. It's like that wasn't subliminal at all. I had my needs, and we're not children here. We got it.
I'm just trying to keep it classy.
You said you experimented like 10 minutes ago. Like we're past classy.
Anyways,
well,
that's normal at that age. So
I don't know.
in my past relationship, my current ex, we were together for 4 years. That was the next relationship that I'd entered. I was 23. The greatest guy. So I had had these duds, right? And then I finally met someone that was great. Like, he's from the Midwest, had those Midwest manners, and treated me great, had a lot of respect, and was loyal and was faithful. I trusted him. And it was great. We got along. He was like my best friend, and he's a really good guy. But, when all of the honeymoon phase goes away,
the truth comes out.
You start to see the cracks. And I was really blind to it. And again, there's a theme of self-betrayal for me, number one. And number two, staying in a relationship when I knew I should have listened to my gut, because there's this voice that we all have where you either enter a room, at the store, an interaction, wherever it is, there's that little voice that's like, this ain't it. This isn't right. Or this isn't for me, or, and we ignore it so much. And so that was what was happening. There was times where I was like, this isn't right. This isn't it. But I stayed pushing because I was like, but this is a great guy. I can't let this guy go. So it's like tale as old as time. A girl dates a lot of duds, finally meets a nice guy, feels compelled to stay with them and obligated because they finally found a good guy on paper, in person, whatever. And then it's okay to not stay with a good guy, basically, at the end of the day. There was a lot of insecurities. There was a lot of mistrust, and there was a lot of lack of understanding. And there was just the emotional connection just couldn't puncture the surface, because both parties, myself and him, we needed to do a lot of work, clearly. And, it's over now. That was a rough breakup. That sent me into a big spiral.
Let's back up before we get to the spiral, because that's going to be another 5 minutes.
Great.
No, that's good.
Am I talking too much?
The content is good. No, this is your moment. People don't want to hear me talk about what I got to talk about. So at one point during the 4.5 year relationship, did you get that feeling of this isn't it? And then subsequently, how much longer did you keep trying to push through it?
I mean, it's hard to say, because with relationships, they're kind of like this. Mm-hmm. It was never good, and then bad. It was never that kind of graph. It was just kind of great. Oh, we hit a bump. Oh, great. We hit a bump, and I think towards the end, the last year we were together, that was when I was falling off, where I was retreating. And I just, I started protecting myself. And because you just get tired of certain shit. You're just like, this is annoying now.
Right. It's 3 years.
You can't look past certain things anymore. You can't make excuses for things anymore, because now there's a lot of resentment. And resentment is the death of all relationships, 1,000%.
It is. It's one of the 4 horsemen. And it's definitely, it's contempt is the last level of a relationship ending, basically. And resentment is right. It's this cousin. It's like I resent you, and then it's just everything you do.
It's like waiting for its turn on the stage, and
Yeah.
then it's here.
Is it my moment? I hate everything about you. Yay! And that's when it is absolutely over. You don't come back from contempt. That's like the way they tie their shoes. You're just like, you still do bunny ears? You're 28. You start tearing.
You can still cut the crust off your sandwiches. The fuck?
Do you eat crackers with 2 fingers? Oh, like you start taking it apart.
Why are you breathing?
Really?
Yeah.
It gets to that point where they can say something good to you and you still hear it negative. Hey, how was your day? How the fuck was your day? It's like, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Toxic.
Yes. It's the highest level of toxicity. And at that point, it's just a matter of who's going to pull the ripcord first.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can flash back forward to the breakup because I know people want to hear how you got over it. Not necessarily the breakup itself, but like your journey. Because no breakup is even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone always kind of gets hurt more than others. And not every breakup that you have is the same, depending on how connected you were to the person, how long you're with that person, the stage of your life, their status, all that stuff affects how breakups go. So
yeah, I mean, 1,000%. Every situation is so different, and any relationship is never the same.
Right.
It could be similar, but it's never identical in experience. So in my past relationships, I was always the person that ended things, and I was cool. I said, it's over. I'm done. Done. Peace. We're gone. We're out.
Is that a dance move?
I don't think about them again.
Peace. I'm gone. I'm out. Oh, okay. Ooh.
Like a fan kick.
Okay, you just showing off now.
Anyways, I had to stretch. No. Anyways, so this one was gnarly. Okay. It's complicated. Stay with me, guys.
No, take your time.
So in the last year we were together, he broke up with me. It was a big blowout and I was devastated. I was like, this came out of nowhere, but I was like, okay, I'll just deal with it. And we ended up getting back together for 6 months, and I was never the same because it felt like a test. Like this person did this to test me.
The breakup or the getting back together?
The breakup initially.
Okay.
It was almost like a test to see if I would be with someone else. Like, I don't know, in hindsight, it's shady. And he admitted that it was a test, essentially. So we got back together and we were together for 6 months, and we had traveled to Morocco. We did Paris. Those are cool spots, right?
So this guy's living the life.
Right. So it was pretty awesome. And it was probably one of the worst trips I've been on.
Oh.
He was just always on me. It was just like, why do you spend so much time getting ready? Like, I wish you spent time focusing on more important things. And I'm like, I'm not trying to look like a trash bag in Paris, the city of like love and like romance, and like people are so trendy and chic in Paris. Like, I'm not trying to look back on these pictures and look like a trash bag.
Hey, trash bag.
It's trash bag. You want baguette? Like, that was really bad. But anyways,
it works. Let's go.
And it was a pretty terrible experience. And that's when I started having a lot more hate in my heart. I don't hate anybody, but it was just filled with like rage and animosity is the word, and resentment. And that's when my guard started going up, because I was like, he didn't want to take pictures with me or of me, like he thought I was just obsessed with Instagram. Like, he was just very insecure, did not want me to do anything. He wanted me to be here.
Like in
this little box, and I was also in season with a football team that I danced for. And that was also an issue. Me being out there in a crop top, we're athletic, we're dancers, like we're going to show our physique. And that was a problem. So he always made comments, and, at that point it was September. So that's the start of the season. So It was just a lot of shit piling on.
It's a lot. People are like, they're along for the ride right now. They're like, I got to see how this thing is. We are strapped in. It's like,
Yeah, so I was in season and he would complain about everything about me. It was just very critical, very, very critical. And now I started to see it. The goggles were off and I started to see it, and it became louder and louder to me, and it pushed me further and further. So I got into a small car accident in September at the end. I was exhausted. I fell asleep at the wheel like for a split second, and then I rear-ended somebody. I was just not well. I was not okay. And I remember saying to him, you know, I feel like the axis of my world is spinning off. Like I'm spinning in a different direction. I feel off balance. Like I don't feel right here. Like something's off. And I kept saying it. And, you know, this is the person, that's my partner. You know, this is the person I confide in. This is the person that I tell everything to. And, you know, that's such a heavy thing to accept for someone to like take that load on. And I didn't expect him to do that, but I expected some support.
yeah.
Some type of compassion, something. Nothing. He just kind of chalked it up to me being dramatic. And that was really painful because I was struggling. And I didn't know like who else to tell. And time goes on. I struggled more and more. The relationship just wasn't the same. Like I wasn't attracted to him. I wasn't like our love life, like it wasn't like our bedroom love life, like it just wasn't, I just wasn't in it.
Like I wasn't. Love life, yeah. We're better than that. We're better than that. I don't want to add levity to the situation, but bedroom love life sounds like something from I Love Lucy. I just need you to be what? Wow.
Classy, dude.
What year is this? Is this the honeymooners? What year? What is this?
Okay, our sex life went down the drain.
There we go.
Is that better for you?
I think it's better. Jeez, I think it's better for everybody. I think the 80-year-olds listening to this pod are like, I remember love life. That's how 80-year-olds sound to me. I remember.
So, oh my God. So that started to go downhill. I just would turn my back over and go to sleep. Like wouldn't connect. I was very disconnected from myself, and then I disconnected from everything externally, my relationships, my friendships, my family, my job. So I was spiraling more and more. It was a snowball.
Well, let me ask you this before you continue, because now this is on my mind. At this point, you've gotten back with him and it's spiraling. It's not going well. Why didn't you at that moment get out?
Again, it's the tale as old as time. It's you just stay in relationships longer than you should be, you know, and they have already expired at that point. It's just you're not accepting it. And I think I was really blind to it. And again, it was the same concept that I had mentioned. You know, I finally met a good guy. I can't let this good guy go, like, because in LA, like, the good guys are they're slim pickings.
So is it, let me try to say it back to you the way I'm hearing it. So is your thought being, I've dated a lot of bum trash dudes. I finally got a good guy. There's such few of them that I'm willing to put up with a bad relationship, disrespect, a subpar sex life because there may not be more of those people out there. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the thoughts and one of the logics that you kind of go through and think about. Also, you know, you love the person. You weigh so much of, oh, we have our history together. Like, we can do this. Like, we can go through this. You like justify so many things. So you're essentially self-abandoning yourself at that point. Like, it's just self-betrayal. You know, you're not doing what's right for you and protecting yourself. But I wasn't equipped with those mechanisms yet at that time. We dated from 23 till I was 27? And so again, that's a hard gig to do. Like, who knows what the hell they're doing in relationships in their 20s? Like, I'm still discovering myself, and it's been a journey. It's been a process. And so there's so many different things that go through your head to like make it a reasonable choice to stay. It's a good guy. You don't want to go back in the dating world. You loved this person, but I wasn't in love with that person. So I couldn't differentiate those two. Maybe because I didn't want to accept it.
Sure.
So I think I love this idea that I had envisioned. So we hold on to a lot of, it's supposed to be this. So when it goes wrong, it's so hard to let go of this vision and the supposed to be's and the history. It's so hard to grieve those things because that's when you come to terms with reality and acceptance. And so, acceptance is always the final step of grieving, right? So that was such a hard pill for me to swallow, and I wasn't ready to take that on yet. And so I did everything I could. This was the problem. This was the solution right here. This is the solution, acceptance. And I just orbited around it. I would dance around it as long as I could because I didn't want to face the truth, because no one wants to be sad. No one wants to feel hurt. No one wants to be heartbroken. So that's why a lot of people stay in relationships that aren't good for them, because change is a hard thing and change is scary. Consistency is safe. And so I didn't know how to walk away, essentially. It sounds so stupid and basic and simple, but it's complicated.
No, listen, we've all been in relationships. So I think we all, on some level, vibe with you. Some have been in way worse. Some are in what you're talking about now. Some get caught up in entanglements. We know who they were.
Entanglements.
Like, I was going to ask a question because you were talking about the what it should have been and then what is, and that kind of dichotomy between, I know what reality is, but if I can just live in this fantasy, whatever. And then how difficult it would be to be sad, to break up with someone and start over and be back in the pool. My retort to that would be, is it worse to do that, or is it worse to stay in a situation that is toxic and is where you're betraying yourself and is every day eroding the fabric of kind of who you are?
The person I am now will answer that question. I think it's worse to stay, just because you lose so much of yourself, because you constantly are giving and giving, and there's this push and pull and push and pull, and it's exhausting, and you max out a lot of your spirituality, like your emotional being, like you just exhaust and deplete those things of yourself. And so staying in a relationship that is over is the worst thing you can do. Because at the end of the day, you'll be fine. You'll make it through. And you'll meet someone. And if that person's not great, you'll meet another person. And if that person's not great, you'll meet another person. So as long as you can, that you can survive a bad situation, then I think going forward in life, you'll always know that you'll be okay. And I think that was like the first time in my life, besides the situation when I was 18, when I was physically assaulted, because I wasn't really coping at that time.
Right.
But this time, this was a different situation. It hit harder, and I was forced to like look in the mirror and deal with things. So,
right.
That was the first time I had gone through anything very deep and dark. And so me knowing that I could make it out of that, now like going through life, I'm just like, I know I'm going to be okay. I've survived this. I could basically do anything.
I like it. You see how it all came around? It all came full circle once you got past your bedroom life. So I'm not letting you get off that.
I'm a child.
Well, we're fine. This is kid friendly-ish. So
this is a Disney Plus podcast.
No, Disney doesn't want to be a part of this. Not yet. So you mentioned earlier you weren't equipped with the mechanisms and the techniques to get through all this. And now you've come on the other side. So how did you acquire the techniques and the mentality and all that? Like, did you have a support system? Was it purely therapy? Was it just introspection? What is it that helped you get from where you were in that abyss to where you are now?
So in that tailspin, it was like an avalanche waiting to happen, and it was just piling on more situations of like, resentment and then contempt. You know, there was a lot of things that were happening that were really hurtful, and I was still in season. We ended up going to the Super Bowl, which is like the pinnacle of my dance career. That's the stage you want to be on, right?
Right.
I was so disconnected. I was so just not myself, but I still knew I had a job to do, but I just showed up. I was just like a body. My soul had just like taken off some other direction. It just wasn't connecting for me. And so I was really numb, and I was really in this horrible spot mentally. Like I was just checked out with life.
Mm.
And then I also had the weight of my relationship. This person, again, wasn't listening to me when I had first said, I don't feel right. I have these intrusive thoughts and I don't understand them. I need help. And that person took it as me like cheating, like physically, like going out and being a philanderer. Like that person.
I almost walked away from my own podcast. I almost got up and walked out. I'm like, I'm not doing this with you anymore.
Why?
It's fine. Philanderer is a word I didn't expect. I thought you were going to say harlot, Jezebel, trollop, anything else. And then you said, okay.
A lot lizard.
Lot lizards are real. You got to watch out for them.
I just learned about that.
They'll get you.
It's scary.
It's rough out there, you know?
I'll ask you like $20 for a blowjob or something.
I'm going to tell you a story about that when you finish your story.
Okay, so anyways, so I spiral, I come back from Super Bowl, and this was the tipping point of everything, of the relationship. You know, so he was taking me as being disconnected as like me being with someone else. Mm-hmm. So this person went through my phone, went through my computer, completely hacked everything of my stuff, and completely stepped over a boundary of privacy that I think is important, and went through all of my messages. And there's private messages that I have with my girlfriends, and we talk about guys, like, and it's nothing inappropriate. And, you know, I was in contact with somebody that it wasn't inappropriate by any means, but we connected on a level that like I needed someone to understand what I was going through. And that was a good support for me. And obviously, like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And in hindsight, like, I think I was just so emotionally dead that I was kind of backed into this corner, and I made a stupid decision, and that was kind of the end of that. And he tried to drag my family into it. He was sending my family screenshots of my own private conversations with my friends that were so irrelevant and have nothing to do with my family. Right. He shut me out. He sent me a list. He made a list on the Notes app of your iPhone of all the things I did in our relationship. I was like, that's petty. Did you have a Google Sheets of this for 4 years? Like, what? And so for the first time in my life, I had done wrong. And I grew up as a perfectionist, and I still kind of have those tendencies. Dance doesn't make it easy because dance is about precision. Yep. So I never got in trouble. I was always such a nerdy kid. That's why I say philanderer in bedroom love life.
Experimentation.
Experimenting, whatever, curious. So I was always a nerd, and I was always under the radar. I never got in trouble. I was always a good kid. And so this was the first time that I had done wrong. And I had hurt somebody, and I lived my life always trying to do right. And so I spiraled. I just went off in the deep end, and I went to therapy. The next day, literally, he kicked me out of the apartment, sent me home, broke up with me, didn't speak to me for like a month. But the next day after we broke up, I went to therapy because I was like, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. This isn't who I envision myself as a woman to be in a relationship, as a partner, as a sister, as a daughter, like as an employee. Like, this isn't me. Right. And I had to hit that rock bottom to finally pull the trigger on therapy, because I think I was ready to face it. Because that's what happens. Yeah, so I went off the grid for a year. I wasn't on Instagram. I was just ashamed. I was in this shame prison because I put myself there, and then also this person put me there, along with friends that became really close to me, put me there. Not one single person checked in on me. Like, not that they have to, But I think like,
It should.
yeah, just like wishing you well, like, or just like, hey, I'm sorry that this is happening. There's only one friend that I'm still in contact with that she's been great. And that was really devastating for me. And so when something like that happens, you feel so alone. You're not alone because I have friends and family,
Right.
but I felt really alone and I was in a really dark and vulnerable place. And I wanted to end my life, but I didn't want to die. Like, I didn't want to die. I just wanted to end this life that I was living and this pain and this sorrow. And I just wanted to be done with it because it was so deep. It was so, I keep saying dark. I just can't even describe anything else. It was just very, something I've never experienced in my life. And I don't think anybody should experience this, but it fortunately does happen. So there was a lot of things I was not facing that it kind of, you know, when you try to stuff a trash can and it's overflowing, it just kind of explodes, right? So that was me. So in my head, I had been so pushed to this corner on the shame train. I'm a fucking monster, basically, at this point. I've been painted this picture that I'm like this horrible person. And, you know, there's two sides to every story and there's the truth. And I feel like my ex did not handle the breakup well. He dragged me through the mud for a really long time. And, you know, when you do something wrong, you want to make it right.
True.
So, yeah, I came to terms with wanting to end my life. Like, I knew how I was going to do it and I was going to do it. And then I stopped and I just thought about my mom. So my mom was showing up to my apartment every day to make sure I was okay. And like, I was in a lot of pain. I was grieving and my heart was broken. And I was just gone, so disconnected, and didn't get out of bed. It was surprising to get out of bed. If I got out of bed and brushed my teeth and got out of the apartment, that was like a big win, but I hardly did that. That's gross.
Yeah, but I mean, you sound like you're describing elements of depression. So, I mean, that's part of what it is. So, yes, it's not pretty. No one's like, "Oh, depression, that's cute." Like,
No,
like no one's ever said that. So, what you're
it is
describing,
not cute.
it's not cute.
So I made that decision. And when people make decisions like that, it's for different reasons. And I've learned. And I necessarily didn't want to die. Like, I don't want to die. I just wanted this life to die. Like, I wanted to move on. I wanted to not deal with this pain. I just wanted the quick fix. I couldn't face it. And I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel because it was so dark. And so I went to therapy and that helped a lot. Therapy is tough though, because you got to peel back a lot of layers. You start, like you said at the beginning, you start childhood, then the middle, and then the current. And there's a lot of things that you talk about. And I'm going to be honest, the first session is hard because you're like, well, what do I talk about? Where do we start? You know, and then you kind of just start talking and then you start piecing everything together and then you start peeling back the layers more and more. Some days you're exhausted walking out of the office. Some days you're really liberated and happy and feeling free. And there was a lot of things I had to come to terms with and make peace with from my childhood. My parents are interesting. They're great parents. It was rough growing up because their marriage wasn't the greatest and still isn't. So my tying everything together, my portrayal, like the portrayal of love and marriage and relationships as a young woman and a kid wasn't ideal.
Right.
And, you know, you lived your life thinking things are normal because mom and dad are your authority. Like, those are your authorities. Like, that's who you trust, you know, that's who you learn everything from. And so you think it's normal. And you'd say, oh, this is just who I am. I've been this way my whole life. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, you make these things and excuses. And then you go to therapy and you're like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, that's not right. And, you know, it's helped me to kind of look at my parents like they're two human beings that had different life experiences. It's a generational thing. It's generational lessons. It's generational upbringings that you can totally break the cycle. they know what they know with what they have and what they had. And you just have to be compassionate with them. It's really hard, but with that mindset today, now I'm able to have more patience with them, and just set my own boundaries and stuff like that. And I didn't know what a boundary was until literally therapy.
I mean, listen, I think what you're saying, there's a lot that you said.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's this. I don't want you to apologize for speaking your truth. What I was saying is that I'm listening to hear what you have to say, but I'm also continuing the pod. So part of me is progressing the conversation and also like trying to glean away like important stuff.
There's a lot to like cover.
I know, but I know you, so I know how you give it up. So, but one thing you mentioned, and this may have gotten lost in all of this, is you were always trying to be a perfectionist, and I identify with that. But I also know the calamity that can lead to, because when you're trying to be a perfectionist, you hold yourself to such an unreasonable standard
Mm-hmm.
that it's never enough, and so it's hard to really ever be fully satisfied with yourself. Like other than like school where you get 100 on a test, all right, I got a
Yeah.
perfect score on a test. Fine. That's
Yeah.
an objective math situation. But
Right.
in real life situations, you're never perfect in a relationship. Your food never comes out perfectly. You never look as pretty or as handsome as you want to look. And so, and if you're a musician, the song is never comedian.
Right.
The joke is never on point. You're a dancer. Like you said, it's about precision, but you practice the same dance over and over and over and over and over. So maybe one day you're like, I feel like I'm the best dancer here. The next day you feel like you're the fifth best. And then that bothers you because there's four better than you. And now it starts like kind of being
Right.
a thing. And if your viewpoint is I have to be perfect, then that's a really hard place to be. And that makes therapy difficult because you're trying to do therapy perfectly. And
Yeah.
therapy is imperfect because it's trying to show you it's okay to be imperfect. There's
Okay.
there's perfection in your imperfections. And if you
Mm-hmm.
try to make everything perfect, then that's against what it is. I don't want you to show me the best side of me. Like, yeah, I had a breakup 2 years ago, but I'm okay now. Like, no. We don't have to talk about that part. Let's get into the minutia. I want the dirt.
Yeah.
Like, where's all that? Because that's where the growth comes from. That's where
Right.
the liberation comes from. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the hardest thing for perfectionists. I'm a recovering perfectionist. It doesn't work a lot of times.
No.
This pod has helped tremendously with that. Interacting with so many different people has helped with that because I see elements of myself in other people. And I
Yeah.
think maybe that's what led to the pod in the first place. But I didn't want to do the pod, and the listeners know this. I didn't want to do a pod for a long time because I didn't know the perfect way to do it. I was like, I don't have the right setup. I didn't have a green screen back then. I was doing pods at Equinox when it was quiet. I'm like, is anybody here? I'm gonna shoot pod real quick. And there was people coming in the room like, get out, do the podcast. Anyway, so it was it was a whole thing. And it wasn't perfect. And part of me didn't want to put certain episodes out because I was like, what if it doesn't come across the way I want it to? What if
Yeah.
it's not received as perfectly as I want it? Because you have this vision in your head for what perfection looks like. And then once you realize that even the vision in your head is distorted, then it makes everything in the real world easier to manage. Then you just try
Right.
to do the best you can do. And sometimes that comes out pretty damn good. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't work out. But you always have a chance to get back on a horse and do better emotionally. You can go through
Mm-hmm.
the worst relationship ever, but you can rebuild yourself to be a stronger person.
Yeah.
And it's because you went through that relationship that you're able to even rebuild and be a better person. And then your story can help other people going through their own situation. And maybe they don't have to go through it as far as you did because they have you as a guide.
Yeah.
Just like you said, your parents are that's our guide as kids. We see them as the litmus for what's, you know, adult like. But they're just two people. They're our parents, but they're just two people.
Yeah.
And if you see them as these deities and then they betray that, then your worldview gets skewed. But really,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing the best they can, as you said. And as
Yeah.
you meet more adults, you see good relationships, you start looking for them. And you see really toxic ones, and you kind of figure out, I don't want what that toxic one looks like. I love
Mm-hmm.
my parents, but I don't want what they have. And you can use their experience as a learning point to then build a life and relationships and family and whatever that you want based on how they were living their life.
Exactly. that's why I say you can change, you could break the cycle. Like, you can live your life however you want to set it up. You know, you may have grown up a certain way and you probably don't want those elements in your life, but you have the power to make it different. And that's what I wasn't understanding for a long time, you know?
We had some of those conversations.
With the pinky up.
When in doubt, pinky out. We know what the rule is. This is SpongeBob 2000. Like, come on.
Oh my God.
Like, we need to grow up. We're doing SpongeBob stuff here.
Better love life.
Like, you're talking about me being a child. No. But that's also, pinky up is fancy. That's how I do simple stuff fancy. Like, if you're at a bar and I'm drinking cranberry juice, neat, because that's how I give it up. And I'm over here like yo, what's that guy drinking over there? You take little sips, keep the pinky up.
SpongeBob backpack on?
You can't bring that to a club.
Oh. Okay.
But I would if they allowed it to. But that's how I do it. If I'm drinking my tea, I keep the pinky out. I let people know how fancy I am. They don't have to know what's in the cup. You just know that's a fancy dude. Look at him over there.
I don't think I would have that reaction.
Here's the point. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. Because at one point I would be like, yo, why's that girl looking at me all crazy? And you're like, why's that guy having his pinky up? I'm at the point now where I'm like, my pinky's going
on.
The pinky's going to be up regardless. Whether she gets it or she don't get it, the pinky's up. And that level of comfort is something that you gain after going through a lot. And because part of perfectionism is being looked at perfectly by the people. That's a big part of it. It's not necessarily whether you're perfect or not. It's the perception from the outside world that you're perfect.
Mm-hmm. So all about optics.
Right. So me caring whether you like the pinky or not will fall in that category, where if I walked in a room, people like, even the backpack thing, like people who don't know me in real life, I wear backpacks most of the time. So there are people who are like, oh, I'll take the backpack, I'll grow up. But if that bothered me that people didn't like it or that it made them feel some kind of way, then I would stop doing it to appease the people. I would put my pinky down because you said something about it. I'm good with the bags. I'm good with the pinky. I feel I have my reasons for doing both, and I'm good with it. I understand that every decision is going to have people who like it, and there's some detractors. It's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
And so as long as you're doing what you're doing righteously and you feel good about it and it makes you happy and it's not hurting anybody, this stuff makes me smile. When I put my pinky up, I start smiling like a little kid. And sometimes smiling is the hardest thing in the world to do. And if drinking water or orange juice with your pinky up gives you 5 seconds of bliss, it's not too many things better than that. And I don't need an outside stimulus to do that. It's like my own regulating source. So that's why. Pinky up. Boom. Now, when you drink some water, you're gonna put your pinky up and be like, he's right. This is great.
Oh my God.
This is great. Why was I put my pinky up this whole time? So we're gonna wrap soon, but you're now, we can touch on this lightly. You're in a current relationship now, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting because
Joe, maybe we're not going to get off this. All right, let's go. Let's hear for the juice.
I mean, so you know, when you go through a breakup, you're trying to make amends, right? You're not ready to let it go.
Sure.
And it took me a long time to figure out that this person was never going to choose me, even though they had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They couldn't figure it out. So I had to make the decision to walk away because this person kept, you know, the wound kept pouring salt into that wound every time. And it was just like this cycle, right. You know, and it doesn't click, and it takes a long time because, again, you don't want to accept it. You do everything you can to not accept. So I am in a relationship. It was literally the last thing I ever wanted coming out of that debacle that I had experienced.
Right.
You know, that's the last thing I wanted. I was like, no, like, I can't do another relationship. Like, there's some things that I need to work on. I had to step away from a lot of things in my life to work on my mental health and like make some peace with certain things, because I was like, I can't keep living my life like this. There was a lot of things, like I said earlier, like I lacked. It was like coping mechanisms, how to handle my emotions, understanding my triggers. And honestly, like at this point in my life, going into my 30s, I'm closing out 20s. I understand who I am as a woman, and obviously like I'm going to go through more stuff in life, but at least I'm equipped with more armor. You know, I was out of tools. I was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to do something really impulsive and, you know, not think about it clearly and not think straight. But with therapy, like I said, it's given me those tools to cope and deal with my emotions or deal with triggers or like walk myself through things. I have this like triangle of hell of depression, anxiety, and perfectionism. A lot of it has subsided. My anxiety still exists in different shades, but I'm now able to kind of walk myself through it. Breathing techniques, you just stay away from things that trigger you. And so I met somebody, I was introduced to this person from a friend. I was such a bitch to this person. I was not in the right headspace. I wasn't sleeping. I was going through it. I was in the thick of it. And I was just like, I think of like an emo girl, like goth, like just think of that darkness.
Like Daria.
Yeah, like just darker than that.
Oh.
And this person was really sweet to me, and I was just like, I'm not into this right now. Like I don't want to go on a date. I don't want to like do anything. And, you know, this person stuck around for an entire year, like tried, and wasn't trying in a creepy way. He was just really great as a friend in the beginning and was really supportive and had a really great perspective on life. And I feel like I finally met someone that I was interested in on the same level playing field emotionally, you know, that could go in depth in conversations and wouldn't shy away from like hard conversations. And we could talk about anything under the sun and there's no hard feelings and there's no like afterthoughts like, wait, is this like him being this, or is he alluding to this? Right. Like, you know, there's no insecurities. It's just us being ourselves. And I finally gave him a chance because at that point I'd realized like I would never be with my ex again. And I think I was just trying to repair something that I broke because I thought that was the right thing to do, but that's not what I ever wanted to begin with. And that's something that's hard for people to differentiate. Right. Are you trying to repair this because you truly want this, or are you trying to repair this because that's just an instinctual thing? Or like, what was that?
I think there's a question, a third question you're not asking yourself in there was, would that energy be better served repairing yourself because you also broke that?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that was something that I also chose. So finally chose myself after quite some time. And I'm with someone that's great and it's really healthy. Sometimes I'm like, is this boring, or I'm just used to like drama? You know.
I know like, somebody likes their drama. You want some tea. You know what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? There's no one else in this room. I just like looking around. Y'all give it you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So I've done the work, and you know, I was really hesitant for a really long time, but he stuck by me and showed me who he was constantly and kept trying to prove to me that he was a good guy and that he would show me a better version of a relationship. And it's really crazy that you can spend 4 years with someone and you can meet someone and they can show you a whole different life and a better experience in a matter of a year or months. And, you know, and at first I kind of grappled with this idea of like, am I codependent? Like, why am I in another relationship? You know, those thoughts were going in my head. And I just kind of said, fuck it. And I was like, why not? Like, why am I trying to like be this person that people want me to be, or like feel like they're going to look down on me, or society says you're supposed to go through a breakup this amount of time and you're not supposed to be with someone here. You know what I mean?
Whose voice is that? Is that how society talks?
Yeah, that's my Karen voice. You're not supposed to do that. Cut that out of the podcast, please.
Oh no, that's Stan. That may be the part we use as a trailer.
Your bedroom love life.
This sounds like a bad Steve Urkel impression.
Anyways, so whatever. Anyways, so I met this person and I'm happy and he's great and he's shown me really good things. Like it's just everything that the things come to you unexpectedly and you have to be willing to see it. And sometimes you're not and you miss it. Does it come back to you again in life? Maybe not. I don't know. And so I really wanted to make sure that I was okay and I had moved on. And I think I had moved on a long time ago from my ex. Like I said, I think I was just hanging on because I wasn't ready to face the truth of how I personally felt. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in love with this person for a really long time. And this new relationship that I'm with, this person that I'm with, he gave me the space to heal. He did the right amount of like push and pull of like, I'm not going to be this person that's going to like dip my toe into your situation. Like, I want you to figure this out on your own because I don't want you to be influenced by me right. And what I want. He's like, I want to be with you eventually. And so he never stepped over that line, which I respected 1,000%. And, he's gone through some stuff with the relationship that he was in. So he brought a lot of perspective and a lot of things that were helpful for me to think about. And there's just this level of transparency and trust in our relationship. And that's what I thrive on. With everything that I've gone through in life, I think finally this is what I've needed is just trust, transparency, communication, someone that's not a fucking loser and someone that is a loser in a way that's like shy or like scared to face the lion, or go in the arena, he's not scared. I can ask him any question under the sun. He'll literally do this every time. Pulls up a chair, sits down, stops everything he's doing and is like singularly focused on our conversation. So finally, I've done the work. I've acknowledged what I've needed in life. The biggest lessons I guess I could say is self-betrayal is a bitch and you got to figure out how to keep choosing yourself. And, like you're going to choose yourself, but you're also going to hurt someone in the process, but that's not your problem.
Right.
Like someone might get hurt, someone might get their feelings hurt because you choose to protect yourself or you choose to be, alone or whatever it is, but that's your own personal preference and what's good for you. And that was a huge lesson I learned. I learned boundaries. I learned just
life lessons.
Yeah. Self-betrayal is something women do a lot.
It's not exclusive to you guys. Guys do it too.
And men do it too. But I think society holds women to this insane standard that we have to betray who we really are because society says that we should be this. Listen, like when people tell me you should smile more, and I'm like, no. Or you'd be more approachable if you smiled more. I'm like, okay. Like you should be this, you should be that, you should be this. I mean, we've been hearing that since we were like 12 years old as girls. Like you need to wear dresses because you're a girl, or you need to wear this because you're this. And if you don't wear this, then you're not this. If you don't do this, you're not this. So it's like this stigma that has been circulating our lives for a really long time. And, when women say that they're selfless, it's actually not
selfish.
Yeah, it's not a compliment that I think I would love to be the number one. Because I feel like, when you're a mother, you abandon yourself essentially. And I think the greatest gift you can give your kid is to keep doing you and keep living your life. Because you influence so much of your kid, their behavior, their decisions, and that if they see their mom choosing herself. Obviously, you're not leaving your kid at the parents' house and going clubbing every fucking night. Like, that's not what I'm
saying. Mom at the club giving it up.
That's not what I'm saying. But in the sense of, like, taking care of your being, taking care of your soul, like, nurturing yourself with good things to make you that better person. So it's just you got to look at inventory in your life and the people in your life, who's dragging you down, who's bringing you up, and you got to make decisions, because life is pretty fucking short, and that's really cliche to say, but it really is.
No.
I feel like as you get older, time just goes by fast, and you can't be living it under what people think and what you think society thinks or whatever. Like, you just got to do what makes you happy. The only thing that dies with you is your reputation at this point.
I'm going to close with this because you said something that sparked two thoughts in my mind. So I want to make sure I say them because people want to hear it. The first one is, when I hear the term society says, society is a faceless, nameless entity. And so I don't have any obligation to impress or to abide by what that is, because ultimately society doesn't determine your worth. You do. Right. So if society says you have to do this, you can say, no, I don't. Society may try to, put you into a box, but you have to allow yourself to go there. Right. Just like you have to lie, just like you allow yourself to feel bad. If society says you shouldn't be doing that, you say, but I'm doing it. And they say you're wrong for doing it. You feeling bad is your side of that exchange. Just like being offended is a two-sided exchange. I can say something really offensive to someone and they can choose not to be offended. Society can tell me what to do, try to come at me, but it's up to me to kind of let them do that. And if you don't let society do that, you don't let society dictate. People who change the world are people who told society, I'm gonna do what I want. That's who innovates. That's who starts businesses. That's who creates the world. People told, Tesla, you can't make a car that can drive 200 miles an hour without gas. He's like, okay, watch me. Now everybody's like, can I get a Tesla? Oh, sorry, we're back order for 2 years. Sorry. Sorry. Apparently they're pretty popular. Hey man, you can't put 2,000 songs in something this big. All right. Watch me. And while it's happening, yeah, you have to be a pariah at some point. You have to be able to take those licks. But if you can get through what that is, the other side of that is you being celebrated, you in salvation. But even that doesn't really matter because it's still the same society who try to tear you down celebrating you, right? So it's really your own internal compass of, I think this is the right thing to do. I think this is going to do the most right by me and my family. This not necessarily makes me happy per se, but I'm not betraying myself. Betraying yourself should be a non-negotiable. Like when you start dating, this is people who are single. When you're dating, or if you're getting a Hollywood, I think they both go kind of side by side. You should have a list of non-negotiables. And the minute you feel like those are being infringed on, that's when you put the brakes up. So let's say you want to be a model. You say, okay, my non-negotiable is I'm not doing nude modeling. That's a non-negotiable. And then you get to a higher level. It's like, if you want the real money isn't doing nude stuff. You won't get to that point where it's like, oh man, I just want that extra money. And now you have to compromise yourself. You set up a non-negotiable. Hey, there may be more money there, but I don't want to be that person. So I'm not going to do it. And they can say, but all the big acts have done it. Look at so-and-so. Hey, that's cool. Go hire them. I'm not doing it. And then because that's a non-negotiable for you, just like you betraying yourself. You can't choose your partner over your partner's happiness over your own happiness to your own detriment. That should be a non-negotiable. It's like, yes, I want to make you happy. You want to make me happy. We make each other happy. But if I feel like I'm sacrificing myself to make you happy, I'm betraying my own personal circle, my own non-negotiable. And I can't ever get to that point. And that's when it's time to break up. Not a year later when I've hated you and I've been curbing you in bed and faking sicknesses and all types of other stuff to avoid touching you. It's the minute I realized, wait a minute.
Go sleep on the couch.
Oh, I just want to watch the rest of the Laker game, but this is a rerun. I know, I just didn't watch it all last time. Let me just lay on the bed. So that's the thing. Find out what your non-negotiables are and stick to them. And don't let society dictate how and where you should move within respect to the law. I'm not saying don't go out and do crystal meth because it's illegal. I don't care what you say, society. There's levels to this. It's like, I love Breaking Bad. I'm like, all right, well, calm down.
Yeah.
but
I mean, it's just about that journey of self-discovery of like knowing who you are, because it's hard to figure it out. You can be misguided very easily. You your upbringing has been detrimental to maybe like your growth or whatever it is, you know, I think it's important to make peace with those things. And I think therapy is good for everybody. It doesn't mean that you have to go through something traumatic to go see a therapist. I think therapy is, we're these vessels and we hold on to a lot of things and experiences and emotions that there's such limited outlets that we have, you know.
Right.
There's only such a bandwidth that we can release those things. So I think therapy is probably one of the best things you could ever do for yourself. It's investing in yourself and investing in your growth and your future and how you become as a person and your happiness. Like, dude, I haven't been so happy, not because I'm in a relationship, not because I'm this, I'm just finally at peace with myself and at peace with my experiences. And the biggest thing is forgiveness, dude. Like, I'm not talking like God forgives everybody type of deal. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying forgive someone and like let them back in your life. I'm saying forgive a situation by making peace, whether it's in your mind, in your heart, whatever it is, in order for you to move on. It's like holding your breath underwater and wishing someone else would drown. That's holding on to anger and not forgiving a situation. You're never going to win. So that's something I had to figure out.
I think you're right. And we're going to wrap there. Thank you guys for tuning in. See, I just ended like, thank you guys for tuning in to the Unofficial Therapy Podcast. Jenn, this has been a nice deep dive. Thank you for being honest and transparent and for owning your story, which is a hard thing to do for a lot of people. We want to like put the edited version out, and owning your story is owning the good and bad parts. And hopefully someone can hear this. Maybe they're going through a similar experience and take something from it, help their own life, so they can maybe have a testimony. I know you say you're not the God person, but testimony is, I guess, it's not necessarily religious, really just you telling your story and how you came through something. So they can get their own testimony based on some of the things you've said. And maybe I said a couple cool things. Who knows? It's not really my moment. But who knows?
Bedroom love life.
Listen, I feel like I said a couple, but it's either here nor there. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back soon with more pods. Catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hit us up on the YouTube channel at the Unofficial Therapy Podcast. Subscribe. All the past pods are up. So if you want to catch up, that's a good way to do it. And see visuals, because if you're listening and you don't know how cool my hat looks or how nice Jenn's hair looks right now. So watch it online. See that? Woo! Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.
Bye.